What's up, Internet? Awesome here. Now, I thought, because I'm such a stand-up guy, I'd throw together all of the information that was out there about the House of Wolves raid drops that are coming out with that DLC that launches in May. So let's look at all the raid weapon drops that'll be coming out. First, we're going to start off with some primary weapons. Now, the first primary weapon raid drop we come to is the Terror. Now, I personally feel like this auto rifle is not going to be kinetic damage like it's listed here. I think it's going to be arc, because Atheon's Epilogue was void and Abyss Defiant was solar. It would only lead me to believe that the next one will be the last element that's left, which would be arc. Now, as of right now, it says there are no modifiers and that the modifiers will be random. I don't necessarily think they're gonna be random because none of the other raids have been random. They've all had specific modifiers, so I think this is gonna be the same. I just think it hasn't been announced yet. But it does look like this auto rifle is going to have a very high rate of fire, the same as the hard light, and a low impact, although a little bit better than the hard light. The next weapon we come to is the hand cannon, the number 4 Reciprocal. Now, this one's listed as kinetic, but my hunch is that this one's going to be solar, because Fatebringer was arc and the Word of Crota was void. So the next one would be solar. We'll see what happens though. Again, there are no modifiers. That's gonna pretty much be standard on all the weapons we look at. I think they just haven't been announced yet, so time will tell on those modifiers. Now, this one's gonna have a very low rate of fire, which is not uncommon when it comes to hand cannons, but it's twice as slow as the last word Thorn or the Word of Crota. So even for hand cannons, it's a pretty slow rate of fire, but it's got a super high impact. In fact, it's going to be the highest of any hand cannon to date. On the other side of that, it's going to have a very low reload speed. In fact, the lowest of any hand cannon that's out there. So it'll be a very powerful gun, but if you're not very good at aiming the gun, not a very good gun for you, because if you miss and have to reload, they're going to get you. Now, the next gun we come to, the pulse rifle, is called the gun with no name, which honestly seems a little lazy to me, Bungie. You didn't want to take the time to give it a name? Really, guys? Come on, guys. You're better than that. Now, it's listed as kinetic damage, and I bet there's gonna be an elemental damage of some sort, but all of the raid pulse rifles have been arc damage, so your guess is as good as mine. This one might be arc, or they might pick solar or void. Time will tell on this one. Now, the rate of fire on this pulse rifle is about middle of the road for all pulse rifles that are out there. It's the same as the Red Death, but it's got a lower impact rating than the Red Death, but a faster reload time. So it's gonna be a pretty decent pulse rifle, but we'll see what elemental damage we get added into that. Now, the Raid Scout rifle is gonna be the LOBO LFG. Now, this one's also listed as kinetic damage, but my best guess would be void, because the Vision of Confluence was solar and the Fang of Ur-Yut was arc. Now, again, there are no modifiers, but I'm sure those will be announced at some point in the future. This has the slowest rate of fire in the game. It's gonna be about the same as the Badger CCL, but a very high impact, more than the Mida, the Vision of Confluence, or the Fang of Ur-Yut. So it's not going to hit very fast, but when it does hit, it's going to hit hard, and it has one of the fastest reloads in the game. So it's shaping up to be a pretty good scout rifle. Now, the first secondary weapon we come to is going to be the Ether Torch. Now, it's a fusion rifle. Now, everything online is looking like it can be any type of elemental damage. This is either because, like the Murmur, you can switch which elemental damage you want to use, or what I think is more likely, it just hasn't been announced yet, but my theory would be that this one's going to be void, because the Light of the Abyss was arc and the Praetorian Foil was solar, so this would leave arc being the next logical one. Now, the charge rate on this fusion rifle is going to be faster than the Plan C, but slower than the Pocket Infinity. The Pocket Infinity is the fastest charge rate in the game, but the impact is better than both the Plan C and the Pocket Infinity. Now, the stability on this guy is not very good. It's worse than the Plan C, Pocket Infinity, or Praetorian Foil. So we'll see how well it shapes up. The next one we're going to talk about is the shotgun known as the Docking Party. Again, it appears that it could be any of the 3 elementals. I think it's because it just hasn't been announced yet, but my guess would be solar. The Swordbreaker was void, and the Found Verdict was arc. That would leave solar left. Now, this shotgun has a very slow rate of fire, about the same as the Comedian, but obviously slower than the Invective. It's got a higher impact than the Comedian and Invective though, so it's going to hit pretty hard, and it has a better stability than the Secret Handshake, but the stability is not quite as good as the Invective. It's got a pretty good reload speed. It's going to be a little bit faster than the Invective on that front as well. It's a pretty balanced shotgun, although because I don't know if it's going to have that automatic fire that the Invective and Secret Handshake does, I'm not sure if you will see a lot of use of this in PvP. Now the next secondary weapon we come to is going to be by Royal Permit. It is the sniper rifle that's going to come out of this House of Wolves raid, and again it appears that it could be any of the 3 elementals, but my guess would be Arc, because Black Hammer was solar and Praetor's Revenge was void, leaving Arc. Now the rate of fire listed here is showing that it's going to be the same as Patience and Time, but I have seen it listed on another website saying it would be the fastest in the game. Now with high rate of fire comes low impact, and this sniper does have the lowest impact rating in the game. It's got pretty good stability. It's not quite as good as Praetor's Revenge or Patience and Time, but it's going to be quite a bit better than the Icebreaker. Now let's move on to heavy weapons. The first heavy weapon we come to is going to be the Onslaught Solution System. It's going to be a machine gun. This also appears that it could be any of the 3 elementals, but my guess would be solar because the Song of Ir-Yût was Arc and Corrective Measure was Void. This has the fastest possible rate of fire. It's going to be the same as Song of Ir-Yût, and a pretty high impact. It's about the same as Super Good Advice or Corrective Measure. It has a very weak range. It's in fact the lowest for machine guns in the game, and a very slow reload time. The last one we're going to come to is the Last Rebellion. It's the rocket launcher that's available from the House of Wolves raid drop. Now, all of the raid rocket launchers have been solar previous to this, so I'm assuming this one's going to be solar, but I'm not quite sure if they're going to stick with that motif. Now, it has the slowest rate of fire of any rocket launcher in the game, although rocket launchers are notoriously slow rate of fire, so I'm not sure if we're going to notice a huge difference there. It's got a better blast radius and reload than the Galahorn. It's about the same as the Truth on both of those counts. That's going to do it for all the weapon raid drops that are coming out with the House of Wolves update in May. Now, if you want to make sure you're up to date on all this information, as well as the Nightfall information and the Xur location and stock information, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do this stuff all the time to help out the community. Alright guys, I gotta get back to broadcasting on Twitch, so I guess I'll see you guys online. George Lucas gonna sue somebody.